Yo, what's going on, everybody? AV Media 83 here. And today, yeah, don't you got the title correctly. We're talking about the Pander African, Dr. Johnson versus Cynthia G. I know I'm a little late to the party. Everybody's been talking about it, but now you're about to hear my take on the situation. I'll wait a little bit for everybody to get in. I hope everybody's doing all right today. Getting this in. All right. Bring up my OBS here. Now, I bet some of y'all thought I was playing when I said I was going to do it, but actually I was not playing whatsoever. Before we get started with this video, warning, listening to Cynthia G can cause stress, anger, rage, high blood pressure, and loss of brain cells because she says an awful lot of dumb shit. Viewer discretion is advised. Now that we've gotten that out of the way, does anybody want to get out? Let's get it started. By the way, this is we're going to be going through an interview, a segment on Fox Soul of all places. And this show, I believe, is done by Tiara Mac. Let's get this crap started. Oh, boy. It never ended. Yes, there's a war on black man. No, where the hell have you been? Pander African. Not the Banyang. Not the Banyang. The Banyang. Oh gosh. Why? Projecting. Mm-hmm. True. Okay, for those who don't know, this person is a transformer. If you don't know what that is, look it up. Okay. Okay, he says my sound's not coming through. If you happen to be listening, put a one if you can hear the video. For those of you who are watching, if you can hear the sound, put a one. If you can't hear the sound, press two. Put a two in the chat, please. What's going on, Snowman? Thank you. Okay. Oh, okay. All right, give me just a second. Let's see. What's going on here? Oh, crap. All right, so you say you can't hear the video. Hold on. Give me just a second. Tag on it. Where is C? Here's what I'm looking for. All right, let's. Can you hear it now? Can you hear it now? Ah, tag on it. Well, it's not necessarily a bad thing because Cynthia G is hard not to listen to. But let me see what's wrong here. Daggone it. I had this all set up too. Uh, oh, this is frustrating. 1 second, folks. Oh, oh, there we go. Can you hear it now? Uh, oh, daggone it. Wow. Okay. Uh, all right. Here's what I'm going to do. Here's what I'm going to do. Just a second. I'm not restarting this stream. Here's what I'm going to do. I was hoping that would play. I hope that would play through my OBS, but let's see here. Give me 1 second. Window. Uh, all right. Uh, that's not what I want. Share. Come on. Edge. Yeah, here we go.
The Kerner Commission were experts in
All
criminology,
right, can y'all hear that?
sociology, education, politics, and etc. They produced a book that is, I believe, at least 500 pages that
should be able to hear
details the
that.
reasons why those riots took place. And according to the president's own commission, the problems that exist in the Black community were created by the white power structure, maintained by the white power structure, and enforced by the white power structure. So Cynthia G's position is totally inaccurate and has been refuted by expert testimony coming from the Kerner Commission itself. And I would also say, good sister, that Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated. One of the reasons Dr. King was murdered is because the Kerner Commission was released, which would have gave Dr. King all the ammunition he needed to lead his breadbasket campaign.
Look, I don't always agree with the Pander African, but he's telling the truth right here. Get credit where credit's due.
Even the white power structure admits that the problems black men face were introduced by the white power structure.
And to go on top of that, to bring further evidence that Dr. Umar, what he's saying is right, we can go back to 1967 in South Central LA. There was one murder. Look it up. There was one murder in South Central LA in about an 18-month period between 1967 and 1968. Why? Because there was adequate resources. UCLA was bringing black people in for free. When it came down to it, jobs were plentiful. When black people were adequately resourced, you didn't see black men killing each other. So when we talk about, this thing that's going on, it's not that anyone is forcing black men to kill each other. That's not what nobody's saying. There's a cause and effect relationship between everything. And we're talking about having a full cause and effect, full on viewpoint of what's going on. What's the cause? What's the effect? When you live in a violent society that murdered its way to make the country and goes around the world enforcing murder, what's going to happen in that country is similar to what's going to happen outside the country. So we got to look at that. And when we talk about black men killing each other, it's just a handful at the end of the day. When black men interact, 99.9% of the time, the interactions are positive or neutral.
Well, then you don't have an argument for the system, because the whole system isn't doing anything to you. It's just a handful of people, right? But I wish we could get out the 1960s and jump into 2022. I feel like this is...
Okay, seriously. Those who don't learn from their history are doomed to repeat it. Oh, wait. Never mind.
It's also another way for black men to gaslight, because they know they have done absolutely nothing. Even if you are complaining about the
Cynthia, you shouldn't talk about yourself like that.
System and the Kerner Commission and all of these policies, you failed to do anything about them. It is your failure to address the issue as men that have these problems going on.
Well, what are you doing? Except going on crying about black men don't do this, black men don't do that, black men, black men, black men, black men.
You can say it's only a handful of black men killing other black men, but the reality of it is you don't have the same energy when you're talking about police shootings of black men. Then you act like the entire police department, every last one in every single state, is doing something to you. But now when it comes to black men terrorizing the community, making the community unsafe, killing black men, women, and children, now you want to go to, oh, it's only a few of them. Be that as it may, the bottom line is the issues that black men are inflicting on the community are issues that we should be focusing on.
I want to get Hope in on this real quick. Hope?
I mean, the fact of the lack of elevation and evolution that we see in these arguments are my biggest issue. Once again, we're back in the 1960s when we should be having, like Cyn just said, a current conversation. Currently, black men are not being held at the fire and said that if you don't provide this, or if you don't show up in this way.
Oh, you really want to have this conversation? You're a transformer. You want to have this conversation? Okay.
We're going to do X, Y, and Z to your family. Y'all just are not showing up.
Well, neither are you, quite frankly.
And then when you're asked to be held accountable to these things, you say things like, well, back in this time, and when we tried to do this back in a couple of years ago, half of y'all weren't even around when those things were, put into action.
Neither were you.
And then when you found out about them, instead of bringing them back to the forefront to see if they would work for you in this day and age, you just talk about what didn't work in the back, on the back end of things. I think that a lot of the times you all find it a lot easier to gaslight us into believing that we're the problem so that you can have more time to figure out what the solution is, but that's not the solution anymore. We figured out that doesn't work, and you trying to buy time in the system is not going to help anybody, and especially not the black communities that you say that you love.
Before we go to break, hold that thought, Dwan. Before we go to break, I do want to take up for my black brothers here. The CDC reports that black men show up to their families more than any other race in this country.
Yep. Let's play that again.
Black men take up for my black brothers here. The CDC reports that black men show up to their families more than any other race in this country. Black men to their families more here. The CDC reports that black men show up to their families more than any other race in this country. Black men are taking their children to school.
Let me play it again for the Negroes that didn't hear that in the back.
See all that thought, Dwan. Before we go to break, I do want to take up for my black brothers here. The CDC reports that black men show up to their families more than any other race in this country. Black men are taking their children to school. Black men are playing sports and doing outside extracurricular activities with their children more than white men, more than Asian Americans, more than any other ethnicity in this country. But we'll continue to talk about the war being waged against black men when we return on Business of Being Black with Tammy Mack on Fox Soul. We'll be back. Welcome back to Business of Being Black with Tammy Mack. I am Tammy Mack, and the business of being black today are black men. Is there a war being waged against black men?
Yes, and Cynthia G is a big part of it.
First of all, I want to see where you all stand, just by a yes or no. Dr. Umar, is there? Yes or no?
Absolutely, yes.
Hope, is there?
No.
Dwan?
Absolutely, yes.
Cynthia G, where are you on this?
The only war is the war that black men are waging against the black community.
So is that a yes or no?
What war against the black community?
Yes, there is.
Dwan, if there is a war waging against black men, do black men have allies?
No. The only allies
Very
we have
true.
are other, well, I would say we don't have any outside allies as far as any other races, no. The only allies we have are black women who are on code with black men.
Yep.
Because I was about to be real mad. I was about to be real mad. I was about to go ham.
No.
And those are far and few between. Sad to say. There are some, but they're far and few between.
Because it's a lot of black women who are on code. I know I'm married to one. You know, I've been with the same woman for 20 years. So I can preach, I can walk what I preach when it comes down to this. We do have allies, and the allies, the ally is the black man, woman, and child. With this whole fight between black men and black women, it's like the women forgot about the kids. It's like it's this whole war going on, and it's like the kids be damned. You have people like Dr.
You jumped on me there, Dwan. You jumped on me. I don't even know how we got to the kids.
No, because we're all one. Black man, woman, and child.
Are you talking about the kids that black men abandon and publicly talk about how they?
Nobody abandoned anybody. You stop taking up for these heifers that keep their kids away from the black man. Stop lying, Cynthia.
I can't speak for your life, but all I know is my father's always been there for me. My wife's father's always been there for her. I'm there for my wife. My grandparents were there. I have married lineage. I can go back 400 years of marriages. So I don't know.
Be that as it may, it's very well documented.
I was talking. When it comes down to it, there are some men that leave, and we're going to talk about the.
Be that as it may, it's very well documented that black women keep their kids away from black men on purpose.
Men that leave. Let's talk about a lot of men that leave because of how they were pushed out by people who were going around trying to get government benefits. Let's talk about that. If he's not there, let's talk about all these single family households that are there because somebody wanted a baby so they can get a check one day and didn't give a damn about who she had that baby with. 80% of the women having the sex with the same 20% of men. If you keep in that same loophole, you got to look in the mirror.
Well, period. I don't know, Dwan. I mean, your points are well taken. I'm just confused on how we go from a war against black men to women having babies by different men. It's not adding up here. Dr. Umar, help me make the math.
Well, there's a couple things. Number one, we have to make sure that we conduct a systems analysis and an institutional assessment. Communities are made up of institutions or the lack thereof. Communities are governed by systems or the lack thereof. Let us be very clear about something. This fratricide, this black on black crime that so many of our brothers are engaging in, let us remember, Irish did the same thing. Italians did the same thing. European Jews did the same thing. And in the 1930s and 1940s, the United States government decided to upgrade them to white status, and in so doing, gave the Italians control of the fire departments in the black community, gave the Irish control of the police departments in the black community, and gave the
Look, I told you, I don't agree with this Pander African all the time, but he's stating straight facts. Let's keep going.
European Jewish immigrants control of the civil service municipal jobs that they still control in many city centers today. The point that I'm making, Tammy, is that America gave Southern European immigrants an economic stimulus package. Before they gave that economic stimulus package to Jews, Irish, and Italians, they were doing the exact same thing Black men are doing today, selling drugs, breaking the law.
Now, before we go any further, if you like what you're seeing here, you want me to do more commentaries like this, I have a suggestion for you. Hit the Cash App. Hit the Cash App link. Now, let's continue.
Running in gangs, killing one another, but the government intervened and aided them. The reason Black male pathology is still going on 30, 40, 50 years later is there has been no resolution, there have been no solutions, and there have been no governmental intervention. With that being said, I'm not waiting on the government to solve the problems of Black men. We as Black men have to unite, come together, organize, and solve our own problems. Just because we can admit that the government introduced pathology into the Black community, we can still take full responsibility for ending it ourselves.
Hope, I see you nodding.
Yes, because I feel like when you can name all of these things so eloquently and so beautifully, and yet y'all still fail at being able to do these things after years and
well, based on what you was born as, you failed at doing it too. So whatever.
Years and years and years and years of trying. When do we find a new solution? Because if you can't talk to each other, if the old men are scared of these new boys because they're a lot wilder than y'all were, because
yeah, I guess you are a lot wilder than the older boys were. Okay.
They're a lot more buck than y'all were. What ends up happening is I see that a lot of y'all see these young boys, and instead of addressing them, y'all are afraid of them. And so you walk away and say, well, that's their generation's problem. And it can't just be that generation's problem. Like Cyn has been continuously saying, if I have to just answer the question with a yes or no, my answer is no, because the war that we're fighting for Black men is the one that Black men are fighting within themselves. Is it about adjacency to whiteness? Is it about being able to assimilate to that white hand? Or is it really about the freedom of Black men in the Black family and the Black community?
I like that question a lot, Hope. I want to hang on to that question. Dewan, if there is a war against Black men, what exactly is the war?
The war is to disenfranchise Black men economically, because when you destabilize us economically, everything else is going to fall. We can take this back to Maslow's hierarchy of needs, which Maslow didn't come up with, but that's who gets credit for it. When you take away food, clothing, and shelter, everything on top is going to crumble. That's just human science. And what I'm hearing right now is people that are saying, ignore the science, ignore what's been proven for thousands of years, and let's just focus on these Black men. I don't care that everyone else has done it when they were in the same economic situation. I don't care the fact that Black men don't do this when they're sort of stable. Let's ignore all of that stuff, and let's just go back to what Black men need to be doing. When you take away the bottom need of the pyramid, everything else is going to crumble. And with that being done, it's still only a few of us crumbling. It's a whole lot of us winning too.
I agree with that. I want to go ahead, Hope.
I was going to say, but it's at the expense of the Black families that y'all claim to care so much about. I think that what we fail to realize is that when the Black men who
well, apparently you don't care either.
Do have that platform that are not doing those things get on, the last thing that they're thinking about is the Black adjacency to their family.
Yeah, we know that's the last thing you're thinking about.
They want to assimilate to whatever whiteness, whatever white male.
Yeah, look in the mirror.
Privilege they get. And that's a large part of the problem. We see this happen when we look at social media, and we're seeing Black men publicly proclaim the idea of loving on everything but a Black woman, wanting to have children because their eyes and their hair are going to be looser and more exotic looking. You do not see that as much in an influx of Black women as you do in Black men. So when y'all do get on, then it should be the responsibility of y'all, if y'all
should be your responsibility too. If your member's still down there, you can still have children without a woman. I'm just saying. Look, people, look, I don't have anything against transgender people, but live your life how you're going to live your life. But don't come around trying to tell us how to live our lives.
Really care about this upholding of the Black family to then come back to the Black communities that you come from and create those Black families and show people.
Dr. Umar, you welcomed us to the show by saying Black power, Black power. Okay. Is there some truth to the assimilation that Black men want or perceive to want when it comes to this war being waged against you?
Well, there's definitely some truth to it, but I think that truth is also evident in Black women. Black men, many of them may choose to want a white woman, but many Black women choose to look like white women.
Oops. Damn, Umar, don't talk about Cynthia G like that. Oh wait, she's on the panel. You can't talk to her like that to her face.
So we have to look at ourselves, and we have to recognize that the pathology is not more of one gender than the other. That's the issue I have with conversations that seek to see who is more at fault, the Black man or the Black woman. It's not about who's more at fault. We rise together or we will perish together. The Black man cannot survive without his woman, and the Black woman cannot survive without her man. And the issue that I take.
Yeah, well, things aren't looking too good right now, but let's continue.
With my two sisters' narrative is I hear a lot of criticism. I hear a lot of condemnation, but I don't hear any empowerment. I don't hear any.
You expect to hear empowerment from Cynthia G? Really, Dr. Umar? You expect to hear empowerment from Cynthia G? Okay. Yeah, keep telling yourself that lie.
Any solutions coming from either one of them. It appears as if that there is a hatred towards Black men by those sisters. Even when they said, why are we going back to 1960? Let's stay in 2022. That is so immature and irresponsible of a statement. As a psychologist, when a client comes into my office, the first thing I perform is a history on their depression, a history on their suicide, a history.
I don't always agree with the Pander African, but pay attention. He's telling you the truth.
On their anxiety. When you go see the medical doctor, he performs a history. When you go buy a home, they perform a history. When you go purchase an automobile, they perform a history on that automobile. But when we talk about the problems that affect Black males, we're supposed to look at it in a vacuum. We're not supposed to put it in a historical context. And with that being said, the language and the narrative that's coming out of the mouth of these two beautiful Black women is one that I think the white power structure would endorse, because it totally absolves them of any responsibility for the hell Black men catch in this country.
Cynthia G, you did say, why are we?
All right. Before we get started, before she gives her response, let me give y'all a fair warning. Some of y'all thought I was playing when I said I was going to do this. I was not playing. Warning: listening to Cynthia G can cause stress, anger, rage, high blood pressure, and loss of brain function because she says a lot of dumb shit. Viewer discretion is advised. Now, let us go back to our scheduled program.
Going all the way back to 1960, there is some truth to history when it comes to evaluating anything or anyone. So what do you say to that? Hold that thought, because I only got about 30 seconds here, so I don't want you to get into it, because I know you're going to get into it good, sis, and then have to come right back out of it. You understand? So just make sure you understand the question at hand, which is about a person's history, in this particular case, Black men's history in America, and why it doesn't matter when it comes to the war being waged against them. We'll talk about that and more when we return on The Business of Being Black with Tammy Mack on Fox Soul. Oh, we'll be back. Welcome back to Business of Being Black with Tammy Mack. I am Tammy Mack, and the business of being Black today is Black men. Is there a war being waged against them? We left off with Dr. Umar talking about how history matters when it comes to the contextual matters of Black men having wars waged against them, a war waged against them. So Cynthia G, what do you say to historical context?
I say we should go to the historical context, because what I have not heard from Dr. Umar Johnson, or I think his name is Dwayne. Duan, is what I have not heard as they're mentioning all of the things that was done to them. I haven't heard what you did in response to it. So I would like to know, what did you do in response in history other than go to the Supreme Court and petition to have access to the men's women that you're
Lord have mercy. I have my problems with Dr. Umar, but nobody this stupid should be debating with Dr. Umar or anybody else with any intellectual intelligence. Let's keep going.
Complaining and accusing of disenfranchising you. See, because in the 1960s, what Black men were really doing, and it's been documented, many civil rights leaders have admitted to it, what Black men were doing is chasing the white man's woman.
So you're going to accuse Malcolm X of chasing the white man's woman? Really, Cynthia? Now, to be fair, he did chase the white man's woman in his earlier days, but most certainly by the 1960s, he was not chasing the white man's woman. He was married to a Black woman, Sister Betty Shabazz. Really, Cynthia? Mayor Evers was chasing the white man's woman. Dr. King was chasing the white man's woman. Really, Cynthia?
Trying to so-called stick it to him by way of going to their women. What you should have been doing is trying to get liberation for yourself. What you should have been trying to do is get that foot off your neck. But see, the foot is not on.
So Black men didn't go in the street and Black women, to be fair, didn't go in the street and get dogs sick on them, get beaten up, get water hoses sicked on them. None of that happened in the 60s, Cynthia. Really? This is what I mean by saying dumb shit.
Your neck, and the only time you recognize it being on your neck is when you want to get away with doing something that you think white men are getting away with doing. Because let's just be real. Let's just be real, you're full of shit. Hear about this war against Black men, it's usually being brought up when there's a Black man like R. Kelly, Bill Cosby, we see Trey Songz going through it, Ari Spears, when they engage in some degeneracy, and then they're getting a consequence for it. And Black men think that because they perceive white men to be getting... Whoa. This coming from a heifer that flew all the way across the country to sleep with a mago that already had 5 or 6 different baby mamas, and you want to talk about some degeneracy? Really, Cynthia G? Really? You want to talk about degeneracy? You flew from Seattle to North Carolina to sleep with a fuckboy, and you want to talk about degeneracy? Get the fuck out of here. Away with crimes, they want to be able to get away with crimes as well. The reality is, Dr. Umar can sit up here and list all the different ways that the system is disenfranchising Black men and Black men in a victim boat. But the reality is, what he cannot tell you is what Black men did in response to it, because they did nothing. They laid down and they nested. Marcus Garvey did nothing. Dr. King did nothing. Malcolm X give nothing. That's just to name a few off the top of my head. They did nothing, Cynthia. Really? Lord have mercy. But this is what some Black women listen to. And people wonder why wonder why Black men are hard on Black women. Here it is, folks. Under the skirt of their non-Black preferences, and only to complain that whenever they commit a crime, they're not getting. By the way, is it me or is Cynthia trying to look like a white woman right now? Just saying. Look at the. Is it me or is you can answer in the chat? Is she trying to look like a white woman? Anyway.
So let's find out. Dr. Umar, what have Black men done?
Well, number one, again, I think that it is such a shame coming from a psychological perspective that we seek to heal our wounds as a people by relying on unprofessional testimony by individuals who have a vendetta against the opposite gender in their community. When you hear Sister Cynthia speak, you can hear a hurt and a pain and a hatred towards Black men.
Yes, that's very true.
We cannot find an effective solution to Black male-female relationship issues or the oppression of Black men or Black women when the people at the table having the conversation have negative emotional and pathological interests in the conversation that are not.
Umar, the question wasn't about my emotional state. The question was, what did Black men do in response to their disenfranchisement? Yeah, because
a lot more than you sorry heifer.
Because you're trying to pathologize my emotional state, not knowing that I'm a psychologist too. But what you're not doing is telling us what Black men did.
I believe he'll get there, Dr. Umar. Dr. Umar.
And I'll end it quickly, Sister Tammy. According to Mrs. Cynthia G, Dr. King was assassinated because he was doing nothing. Malcolm X was assassinated because he was doing nothing. Medgar Evers was assassinated because he was doing nothing. Fred Hampton was assassinated because he was doing nothing. That narrative that Black men have done nothing to fight back against systemic oppression, not only against ourselves, but against our women, our children, our elders, and our community is absolutely ridiculous. The cemetery is filled with Black men, names we know and names we don't know, who gave their life for the freedom, liberation, and emancipation of African people. How can you disrespect the history of so many Black men, past and present, who continue to fight? I'm sitting in a
because she doesn't give a shit.
School right now that we built with all Black money, 4 buildings that we're going to educate Black men in. It's not easy to solve our problems because there's always Black people in your very same community who's fighting against what you're trying to do to help it. But in addition to that, the white power structure is always waving its wand of oppression to try to sabotage anything we do. I think that the analysis of our women is too overly simplistic, and in being such, it is dishonest.
They've done so much. You've only listed names and not accomplishments, though.
Dr. King, Malcolm X, Marcus Garvey, Medgar Evers, Fred Hampton have no accomplishments. But you do, Cynthia? Really? Lord have mercy.
I can list some accomplishments. Okay, when it comes down to it, what have Black men done since the 60s? We've turned around and we've gotten, we're still inventing things. We still open up businesses. Here in LA, you got Black businesses all around town. It's just that when we open these businesses up, you have a city that these Black businesses suddenly catch on fire. You have issues when it comes down to what's going on right now with one of my cousins and these abatement laws, who's built plenty of properties here in LA, managing it, but because there's some gang activity down the street, a nuisance abatement is about to get all of his properties taken. So when Black men do build things, and we build things on individual basis, you're not going to see an NBC special about what the great Black man built. When Irv Gotti, Suge Knight, and J. Prince tried to put together a distribution, they all got charges the next week. So it's not like we don't build things. When we do build things, something always ends up seeming to happening. And in spite of that, you've seen the most Black business male ownership that's gone up in the last 60 years since the coronavirus. We still doing it. I personally got 3 businesses, so I don't know what you're talking about. I employ young Black men. I've helped thousands of Black children here in South Central LA. So all this
brother was on the wrong panel, but let's keep going.
Black men ain't doing nothing. Where are you kicking it at?
So how are you? So how are Black men creating all these businesses and still costing the government $50 billion a year?
Hold that thought. I want to get Hope in here real quick, Dr. Umar. I want to get Hope in here because Dr. Umar listed a plethora of Black men that we know, and I'm assuming he listed the ones that we know so that we can identify and all agree that these Black men have done something in terms of the fight for equality in America. How do you feel about those men that he listed, Hope? Have they done anything for the Black community or not?
Most definitely, I would be ignorant to say that they haven't, right? But I think that what we're failing to realize is that when we have this conversation about what Black men have done, the consequences are usually because of white supremacy and the gaze of white folks on us are that the Black men are then taken away and the Black women have to then sustain those things. To say that Black women are unappreciative of that, it would be, I think that is the dishonesty, right?
Really? Okay.
The way that Black women show up for the Black community and the Black family.
Based on what fact? Half your boys can't read at 8th grade level. Show up for the Black community, my ass. Some of your girls don't even know how to handle that time of the month. Showing up for the Black community. But y'all the most... And, oh, wait. I'm sorry. I forgot the Transformers, the one saying this. Ain't much different, but still.
Regardless of how we feel about the Black men that we might be interacting with or the Black men that are doing bad things, while still staying here to cultivate the Black men who are, I mean, to overlook that to me is just dishonest. The idea that a lot of you all were raised by grandma them and auntie them and all of these amazing Black women that are in community and share space with you.
And now more than half your Black boys can't read at the 8th grade level. Your point?
And share space with your children, that's being looked over. But also, this isn't, Dr. Umar, you're right. I don't agree with a lot of the stuff that you said, but you're absolutely right. It's not about the idea of who's doing it better or the pissing match of the oppression Olympus amongst Black people, but it's really about working together. The problem is, what I find in working together is that the Black man wants to lead, whether he's acquired the gumption and the knowledge to be able to do so appropriately and effectively or not. The thing about it is, we're working together. We are a team. You get to lead this portion because you're better at it. I get to lead that portion because I'm better at it.
We're not a team with you. I'm sorry. I don't swing that way. We're not going to be a team with you. You got to do your own thing. I'm not a team with you. I'm not against you having rights, but we're not a team. We don't swing that way, sweetie.
And then we come to a common ground for both of us to succeed. But a lot of times when we're talking about these succession plans and we're making all of these advocacy movements in order to progress the Black family, the Black man says, listen to me or fail. Right? As if Black women have nothing to contribute to that. And I think that that's where the problem is. That's where the discourse needs to happen, is how do we work together so that Black men understand that we are meant to work side by side and not with me following you with my head down and saying, yes, that's our master. Because that is me being subservient to you in a way that I might not want to do, especially considering if you do not have the credentials, the know-how, the wherewithal, or the experiences to lead me in a way that I might be better suited to do in this point of our journey. And
Dr. Umar.
Well, first of all, I do not endorse any kind of a second-class citizenship role for Black women. I believe Black women have as much to offer as do Black men. So I'm not sure who the Queen is referring to, because I am not a misogynist and I do not support that type of narrative that said the Black woman's position is only to have children and to prepare food. But at the same time, I think Black women have to look at themselves, because although white supremacy has been the greatest enemy of the progress of Black men, you would also have to argue that Black women have probably been the greatest accomplice to supporting the white power structure in their destruction of Black males.
Yep, let's play it again.
Of the progress of Black men, you would also have to argue that Black women have probably been the greatest accomplice to supporting the white power structure in their destruction of Black males, i.e. the conversation we're having right now, where two intelligent Black women have yet to indict white supremacy for the role that they play in the destabilization of the lives of Black men.
So when we come back, we'll find out if the two beautiful sisters who are on the panel will indict white supremacy when we return on The Business of Being Black with Tammy Mack.
Well, actually, it's just one sister, and she looks like a transformer too.
On Fox Soul. Welcome back to Business of Being Black with Tammy Mack. I am Tammy Mack, and the business of being Black today is Black men. Has there been a war waged against our brothers? Well, please welcome author and activist Hope Chisel, Doctor of Clinical Psychology, Dr. Umar Johnson, radio personality and family advocate, Dewan Brown, influencer and YouTuber, Cynthia G. Well, thank you all for this conversation. Do Black men in America face more obstacles than Black men in other countries? We're going to talk about that. But first, I want to know, is white supremacy responsible for any of the Black man's plight at all? Hope?
Most definitely. Like, let's not play coy here. We understand the role that white supremacy has played. But I think that over time, as we learn the tricks of white supremacy, right, we learn to do better to defeat it. And I find that, especially as Black men, a lot of the time when we're talking about this war on Black men, we fail to realize that Black women are underneath the same scrutinies. Maybe not in the same way and maybe not for the same reasons, but y'all are not going through this alone. And so when you talk about the ways in which Black women have learned to take, you know, what we're given and turn it into glitter and throw it up and make Black girl magic, we wonder why those things are not happening for Black men in the same way. And it's largely because I think that complacency happens. A lot of Black men, not all, are complacent with the idea of being saved by everyone other than themselves. They're okay with the idea of being saved by Black women, white women, women of...
Notice he's just projecting. I'm just saying. You're just projecting right now. You know that, right? You're projecting. Ma'am, since that's what you want to be called by. You're projecting.
All other races. They're okay with the idea of being saved by white men who give them the opportunity to come and be a part of this thing that's better than what they are. But what they're not doing is being complacent in the idea of finding their own solutions to digging their way out of the hole. And having one or two people that are speaking on it with the idea...
You shouldn't talk about yourself like that, ma'am.
...of inclusion or exclusion of certain people within the Black community is also a problem. We cannot build as a Black community if we want to throw out this group of people or throw out that group of people or tell these people that their opinions are invalid even though they're Black because they're mixed race or because they're queer or because of all these other, you know, incidences. And I think that those are the things that we have to focus on. The goalposts can't constantly be moved in this conversation whenever Black women start to make a point for the sake of Black men feeling like they need to be able to dismantle that in order to talk about how they've been hurt. We get that. We have to.
Cynthia G, white supremacy, does it exist?
Oh, here we go.
And has it affected Black men?
Absolutely, it exists. And Black men have worked in tandem with white supremacy since they've become in contact with it. And this is why I say...
no, actually, if you read Daughters of Trade and other history books, it's actually Black women who have been working hand in hand with white supremacy. She's just flipping it on his head to try to blame Black men for everything. Don't believe me, look up Daughters of the Trade.
In the Black community, we have very disingenuous, very dishonest discussions, especially when it's regarding Black men, because we do have a Black male worshiping culture. So what we do within that culture, and Umar Johnson...
Where? Where in our culture does it say the Black man's God? Where, Cynthia?
Johnson is showing it today, is absolve Black men from any accountability for...
Really?
What they've done. Number one, we wouldn't be in a system of white supremacy had it not been for Black men. So if you want to go all the way back to history, then let's go back to history when Black men were selling their own people into white supremacy. Let's go back into history when 16 years off the plantation, Black men were worried about a war being waged on them. They were worried about getting access to white women. That's what you were worried about. And it's interesting. There's a reason why I feel like Umar focused most...
No, actually, we were worried about our towns being burned down, but that's a whole nother story.
On me and Hope's attitudes, and it's because he can't accurately answer the question. He mentioned names, not accomplishments. And the reason being is because...
Well, I think he mentioned those names specifically because the accomplishments of those people don't have to be explained.
Right, but those accomplishments are also accomplishments that I've heard Umar Johnson speak negatively about, specifically the civil rights movement and how damaging it was to Black people. But now he wants to sit here and say the very people who accomplished that were accomplishing something beneficial when, in his own opinion, that wasn't beneficial and did more harm to the community than good. So I think that because we're having such a dishonest discussion where Black men don't want to take accountability for what they've done, they want to be the victims of society, but then they want submission from the women.
Cynthia, stop talking about yourself.
The bottom line is I'm not willing to deflect from the fact that, number one, Black men are the greatest non-white contributors to white supremacy. Let's just be real. White supremacy couldn't even exist without Black men's compliance. They're always uplifting whiteness, biracial children, and trying to assimilate. And that's why I went back to the notion of the only time Black men truly feel like there's a war against them is when they feel like they're being punished for something white men do. At the end of the day, y'all drop the ball. You're blaming white supremacy on your failures. We already know there's oppression, but Black women are double oppressed. We have more barriers to face. You have male privilege in a patriarchal system, and you can't even get it right.
Well, Dr. Umar, I think we all know your stance on interracial marriages.
Absolutely, but let me also
so please acknowledge,
which I disagree with, but let's continue.
What the rest of what Cynthia G has said.
Absolutely. I'm not sure where Sister Cynthia took history class, but if you know what.
Wow. Seriously, doctor, you speak as Cynthia took history class? Really? If she did, she failed it miserably. Come on, Doc. Come on, Dr. Umar. Really? Really, bruh? You know she ain't took no damn history class.
Anything about the transatlantic slave trade. The transatlantic slave trade was a European enterprise. It was not an African
sub-Saharan. I'm talking about the sub-Saharan slave trade. You should go look into it.
Excuse me.
You address me.
May I finish?
Go look into the sub-Saharan slave trade where Black men were trading their women and children for alcohol and tobacco.
Monologue. May I finish?
Go ahead, Dr. Umar.
The transatlantic slave trade was a European enterprise. It was not an African enterprise. Although there were some chiefs who participated in it, by no means did they control the direction and extension of the transatlantic slave trade. So that's number one. Number two, Black men resisted enslavement, not only on the shores of Africa, but right here in America. We celebrate Nat Turner, Denmark Vesey, Gabriel Prosser. There's literally hundreds of documented attempts by African men to liberate not only themselves, but their women and their children. So to act like we just sat there and we're complicit in our own oppression is absolutely ridiculous. The other point I want to clarify for your information, Cynthia G, you've never, ever heard me condemn the civil rights movement. The good Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. is a hero of mine. And despite me being a Pan-African nationalist, I take issue with other Black nationalists who do want to dismiss Dr. King's accomplishment. The civil rights movement was necessary because it removed a psychological scar that suggested of racial inferiority. So you've never heard me deride the civil rights movement. I support it, although I took certain issues with it. The bottom line is when Black women, Black girls, Black boys listen to this conversation we're having today, they're going to be confused because they hear two brothers speaking of a greater context to the problems that affect Black men, and you hear two intelligent, beautiful.
Two intelligent, two beautiful. Okay, Dr. Umar, really? Okay.
Black women who want to keep scapegoating Black men while ignoring the historic.
Two Black women, Dr. Umar, really? Okay.
And contemporary systemic challenges that are constantly placed in our way. I'm going to say this and be quiet, Sister Tammy. I got to give you this. There was a recent piece of research, Tammy, that came out. And the research said a Black man with a master's degree, they did a study. They had white males who had come out of prison apply for jobs. They had Black men with master's degrees, Sister Tammy, apply for the jobs. And guess what? The white males with prison history and no education were called back more than 75% of the time than Black men with no prison history and a master's degree.
I'm aware of that. I am aware of that that survey. I am. Hope, I saw you give Dr. Umar the side eye.
It's only because I can't, you have 1,001 clips on the internet, but I know for a fact that one of the things that I was offended about in doing research or just seeing you on the internet is that you have definitely talked about your disdain for some of the practices of Dr. Martin Luther King. So to sit here and gaslight us as if most of us have not seen.
That's not true. Find the clip. Find the clip.
Well, Dr. Umar, you yourself said you had, you yourself just
By the way, shout out to my man Artisan for pointing out the Bart Simpson hairdo. Good Lord, Dr. Johnson. Really, man? Really, bruh?
Seconds ago said you did find some things in the civil rights movement problematic.
But I supported the movement, and I still support it. I visit
everyone supported
every
it.
time I'm in Atlanta. Nobody, I have never been
as a black man, as a black person in
If we're going to have the conversation, let us be honest. Let's not misrepresent.
You're the only one not being honest, Umar. You're not being honest.
Find the clip. We don't have to argue about it. We don't have to argue about it.
You just admitted to it. We don't need
There's 60 seconds left on the 60 seconds left on this segment. We won't be able to find the clip on this show. But Hope, finish. Hope.
Essentially, whether we find the clip or not, we know that those things have been said, and you know that you've said controversial things. Once again, we see you moving the goalpost when you find that.
Controversial according to who?
We find, once again, because my thing is you and Cynthia can have that dynamic, but I give you the space to speak. I've given everybody that space to speak, so please don't interrupt me. At the end of the day,
you interrupted me as well. Let's be fair.
I did not.
Yes, you did.
And so once again, here we go in a space where Black women are making a point. It's more important to the
It's not about you being a woman. It was about you being incorrect.
When Black women,
you're not a Black woman, but okay.
You're not incorrect.
I respect you. You were incorrect. You were incorrect. I didn't have the issue with a woman.
Oh, notice Cynthia G's co-signed this transformer being a Black woman.
Facts.
Well, let's all breathe in, breathe out, and I'll take a commercial break. All right?
She said something that was
We'll take a commercial break and come right back to wrap this up on the Business of Being Black.
They hate Black men. That's the problem. They hate.
Welcome back to Business of Being Black with
Can't make this shit up.
Tammy Mack. I am Tammy Mack, and the Business of Being Black today is there a war being waged against Black men?
Yes.
Dr. Umar is getting it a little bit because he says the ladies are lying on him. And I suggest that you run through and roll through every interview and clip that Dr. Umar has to find the clip, as he would say. One thing I agree with you on, Dr. Umar, is a lot of times when we have these conversations, we start comparing Black women to Black men, and we tear one down in order to make the other's point. And oftentimes when I have these debates on the Business of Being Black, I notice that is often the debate, to break the other person down rather than build them up. But I do want to do some comparative questioning right here. Do Black men face more obstacles than Black women? Dwan.
I don't want.
Yes. The answer to that should always be yes.
I'm going to put it in a more or less. We face different obstacles, but at the end of the day, this is what we can say is true. Black women have a safety net that Black men don't have. If a Black man loses his job, like earlier, what they're talking about earlier, Black men have no accountability. What if a Black man don't pay child support? He gets his license taken away, he gets his passport taken away, and he can't get a job. So there's accountability there. When it comes down to when a Black man messes up, he's going to go to prison far longer than anyone of any other race or any other sex. So we have the most extreme consequences. But when it comes to a safety net for when we mess up, when we're down in our life, there are no programs for Black men. You can't go through the government and say, hey, if the Black men with children, here are this list of programs that only men can get. But it's a whole lot of stuff out there for women. So what's happening, what I'm seeing right here is a lot of lies being told, but lies of omission. Omitting these safety, the fact that women have these safety nets that Black men don't have, and also omitting the fact that in spite of all this, 3 out of 4 Black men still get married to Black women, and we still provide and we still do these things. So,
but Dwan, what Cynthia would say is, how come you haven't created your own programs?
Well, I personally created my own program. I've written 2 books. You know what I mean?
But that's not a program.
No, I know. I also have a whole program on how to communicate to your children and how to communicate to families, because my thing is about solutions.
But you're talking about safety nets. So the question becomes, how come Black men haven't created safety nets?
Black men, the Nation of Islam created what they can create as far as safety nets goes. Black independent organizations create safety nets for each other all the time. I'm talking about governmental safety nets. We can't go to the United States and say, hey, we need something only for Black men, because it doesn't exist. There's a whole welfare program coming out in Atlanta that's only for Black women. Same thing in California. There's a whole universal basic income that only Black women can qualify for.
Yep.
Black men can't get.
But do you believe that that's because Black women came together and said we need a program?
No, the reason why that happens is because the white supremacist plays on this schism within Black society, and they give one side greater gifts than the other, and that can lead to infighting. And then people who don't analyze what's really going on, they're going to just see the result and not see the cause and say, what's wrong with Black people?
Yep, what the Democrat Party does in a nutshell. Yeah, I said it.
That's the government's tricks going on like it's always done. Let's elevate one group over the other and watch these two rascals fight each other. That's what's going on.
Okay, I'm not sure that anything governmental is a gift though, but hope.
I think that when we talk about it, a lot of those programs, especially the ones from back in the day, since we are going to do the history thing, were not just made for Black women, but Black women accessed them because Black women were the ones that were in the household that had to take care of whatever was left when the government did steal our Black men away, or when Black men did fall into the hands of white supremacy. But I also think that the question now is, if you don't see that those things are happening, if we're not seeing those things in influx, then what are the greater Black male population doing to enforce that these things happen? When women want things, especially when Black women want things, we get up, we say something, we talk about it, and we're going to talk about it till we're blue in the face and until we get those things done. A lot of the times what I find is that Black men think that they can ride off of those things, and then when things come to pass and they're not put into the game plan, then you're upset. Then it's like, oh, well, we thought we were gonna, why? You did none of the work. You sat behind me and you watched me rally and you watched me do all of these things, and then you thought that you were going to benefit from it. And I'm sorry that I left you off, but honestly, when I was doing this work, it was hard to consider you, considering that I have to take care of you regardless in a lot of those spaces. But I also think that hit dogs will holler. If these
Yep, you and Cynthia G are definitely hollering.
Things do not apply to you, then let's talk about how you help them to apply to the people that they do and pull those brothers out of the struggle instead of trying to defend something that does not apply to you. If it don't apply, let it fly, and let's figure out how to pull everybody into.
Yeah, a lot of the shit you talking about don't apply to you, but you keep talking about it. But you want to say, if it don't apply, let it fly. Okay.
That fold, instead of defending a narrative that you don't even conform to. Why are you so upset?
When I always hear, like, when Dwan, when you were talking about the government subsidies that Black women have, it always makes me think about the movie Claudine with Diane Carroll and James Earl Jones, and you know, him being the trash man and having to hide him in the closet when the people came. So I do believe that it definitely was a setup for a letdown in the Black community. Dr. Umar?
Yes, indeed. One of the problems with the conversation, not with you, Tammy, but the responses, they're so individualized. Nothing is being evaluated from a group perspective or a community perspective or a systems perspective or an institutional perspective. The bottom line is anything Black men want to do to liberate ourselves or our community, we can't do it without our women. And anything our women want to do to liberate themselves or the community, they can't do it without the men. It is not a competition. It should be a collaboration. But once again, some of us in the conversation are so filled with hatred for the opposite gender that we can never get around to talking about solutions. And in speaking of clips, Sister Tammy, there is one clip you might want to ask Sister Cynthia about, because it was sent to me by about 30 people several months ago, maybe even weeks, where she suggested that women, Black women, should abort their Black male fetuses.
Ding, 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 ding. Let's play that again.
Because several months ago, maybe even weeks, where she suggested that women, Black women, should abort their Black male fetuses. And Black women should abort their Black male fetuses. Women, Black, several months ago, maybe even weeks, where she suggested that women, Black women, should abort their Black male fetuses because after birth, they would not contribute to anything worthwhile in the Black community. Could you ask her to clarify her comments?
I would love to.
Women,
well,
Black
I would love to too, but we don't have time. So Dr.
Oh, Saved by the Bell. What a shock. On Fox Soul of all places. What a shock.
Umar, what I need you to do is tell us what you're working on so we can be a part of it.
Yes, indeed. This Saturday will be the second annual Frederick Douglass Marcus Garvey RBG Family Festival right here at 601 East 17th Street, Wilmington, Delaware. All free. Come out. We are looking forward to seeing everybody. Go to fdmgfestival.com to register for the free event. And please register for my new online video platform, www.drumar.tv. That's www.drumar.tv. And parents who need help with their children, special education, ADHD, psychiatric medication, IEP, autism, learning disability, reach out to me, 215-989-9858.
Dewan, please tell us about your book, Tell It Like It Is.
Tell it like it is, the art of loving communication. We can talk all day about bringing the Black family together, but we're not going to have the Black family together until the Black family know how to talk to each other.
And where can we get the book? On Amazon?
We can get it at my website, breakthroughas.org.
Got it. Hope, please talk to me. Talk to me, sis.
So right now I have my book, Until I Met Black Men, available on Amazon or wherever books are sold. But also I want to bring attention back to Brittany Griner. She is still out there, and we have Black Feminist Future that you can follow on all platforms, including Instagram, that are helping to make sure that our sister gets home, because that's a huge thing right now that we're not talking about and that we're not discussing in the same way that we discuss when Black men are going through some of the same things.
Now, because this show is about the war waged against Black men, Until I Met Black Men, is that a good thing?
It's a great thing. It talks a lot. What a lot of people thought the book was going to be was a read towards all the Black men that I've met in my life, but what it really
it is not. Right?
It is not.
All right. Cynthia G, tell me about the content of your YouTube channel.
Well, if anyone really wants to know about why selective breeding will be the best thing for our community, then they can come to my channel where I explain that, as I also talk about the dynamic between Black men and Black women, and Black women's need to have standards, expectations, and boundaries when dealing, especially with Black men, but any man in general. And open up your options too. Put you first. Stop thinking about Black men.
Okay. And I'm gonna be thinking about my Black man, Cynthia, because homie is all of that and then some. So I'm thinking right now. As a matter of fact, this show is over because I'm about to go think up on something.
I can't join you in that one.
Why that is kept, so am I, but I still feel how I feel.
Okay, I've had enough. Well, I made it through that shit. I'm gonna give it a few minutes. Anybody want to come up, they can come up. But yeah, that was the segment with the Pander African v the Banyang, as I call her, the Banyang, not the Banyang, the Banyang. What's that? What does that snowman say? Let me go back to my comments. What does that snowman say? Let's see. Come on. What's my comments? Comments. Come on, streaming. Don't be stupid. Don't be playing games with me. Oh, here we go. What was that he said? He said, "Hey, Cynthia, we don't remember asking you a damn thing. A dat yam thing." Yep. How I feel in a nutshell. But yeah, I don't expect any more out of Cynthia G. On a serious note, I don't expect much out of Cynthia G. Cynthia G she hates Black men. She's gonna spew her crap. Part of life. Not much you can do about it. But yeah, Art's gonna be coming on in about an hour or two. I think Art's gonna be coming on. Let me check. Let's see. Art got a show schedule. May not be coming on today. Who knows? Oh, he's coming on today. Good. Yeah, my man Artist is coming on today. So that's good to hear. What's going on, Snowman?
Hey, what's going on, man?
I had to do it.
You had to. You were pulled in too.
I made it through though. I was like, okay, I'm gonna try to make it through.
How the hell did you make it through with that
I
damn voice?
Hold on, wait a minute. I do have an answer for that. Give me just a second. I actually do have an answer for that. Let's see. Come on, where's it at? Oh, here it is. I put that warning up at the beginning of the show.
Oh, there you are. Viewer discretion and viewer listenership is really advised when listening to that bitch.
Yep, I said warning. Cynthia G is known to cause stress, anger,
rage, high blood pressure,
loss of
brain cells.
Because of all the dumb shit she says.
You may need to insert. You may need to insert one that says loss of nerve. Because God damn, she will pinch your nerve, okay? I use my voice for a living, and I've been complimented on my voice so many times over, but that bitch, good grief. Listen, I sound better in my sleep after drinking 2 good Red's Apple ales after celebrating with my wife than what that bitch sounds sober. Okay? My
Can you imagine waking up to that shit, man? I'm like, oh, like,
you know what? You know what? I came close. Listen, I dated a young lady who kind of sounded like Cynthia G, and I came close.
Ooh.
I came close to waking up to that kind of voice. But you know what I did? After the game I did that night, I got the hell out of Dodge and didn't come back.
Man.
It's like I always say on Snowman Unfiltered, I have 2 choices: get out or get the hell out. You know what choice I made? I got the fuck out.
Yep.
I absolutely got the fuck out. I'm not going to do Unfiltered tonight because I know I got to crash no later than 10 o'clock. And the last couple of times I've done Unfiltered, I know I've been on at least a couple of hours, and I want to thank you for supporting Snowman Unfiltered. But I hope to get to the point by November where I'm strong enough physically where I can do my morning show, then get some time down. And if I'm not doing a play-by-play call, then I will do Snowman Unfiltered. But I can't do it 5 nights a week, at least not yet, because I got some stuff in the works with UNC Greensboro and a couple of other places.
Okay.
I'm just waiting to get back in the booth, man. I'm just waiting to get back to game day. And that will really complete my journey. Speaking of journeys, I'm going to say something awful. I'm going to say something disgraceful. But the Pander African and the Banyang kind of deserve each other if you listen to them talk. Yeah, because they circle around the same goddamn points. One goes one way, one goes the other.
Yeah.
But I will give Dr. Umar credit. There were a couple of points where he did he did make some good points. And he, like you and I, actually had the nerve to bring up what Cynthia G said about aborting black male babies. And wouldn't you know it,
I gotta give it to him on that.
Those bitches cut him off before she could respond. And I kind of saw that coming.
Yeah, we all did.
It's kind of like, how can I put this? You're in Indianapolis, you'll understand. It's like the Colts playing the Patriots, Peyton versus Brady, and you know Peyton's about to go into the end zone, and they cut it off for a special report.
Oh boy!
You're like, ain't that a bitch?
Yep.
It's like my wife gave me this one, and you're gonna love this one, and you can use it. It's like getting ready to see The Price is Right and see Bob Barker come through the doors, and you hear, "We interrupt this program for a very special report. We now go to the President of the United States." What the fuck?
Yeah.
It's like that. And Fox Soul is a goddamn joke. It's a joke.
What do you expect? Well, I don't expect much coming from Rupert Murdoch. What else is new?
You know, the best thing Rupert Murdoch gave us was Fox NFL Sunday, and even that's deteriorated. Even that's deteriorated. It was a new and fresh thing in 1994. Now, man, please, it's like the NFL itself. It's deteriorated.
I won't lie. I grew up on Fox Kids when they were still doing Fox programming.
Listen,
Programming for kids at home.
Listen, Animaniacs had me going. All right. I remember Fox Kids. Animaniacs had me going, okay?
Looney Tunes too.
Yeah, same. But now,
what was it called? Tiny Toons. I remember that.
Tiny Toon Adventures. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
See, you and the folks that hang out with me when I do either my morning show or Snowman Unfiltered, we just take stuff and go back in the day with it, because why was I singing Tiny Toons Adventures and thinking about my grandchildren this afternoon when I was in my office? I was singing that shit, and I'm thinking, are my grandchildren here and I don't know it?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I can't listen to that bitch's voice. I can't. It's put the warning back up again, because I can add put the viewer discretion warning back up again.
Oh, here we go.
Stress, anger, rage, high blood pressure, loss of brain cells, loss of nerve, pinching your nerves, and you can add confusion.
Mm-hmm.
Because 1 minute you would think. May I invoke George Carlin here?
Yeah.
Well, she seems intelligent. She's full of shit.
Mm-hmm.
I usually don't talk about Cynthia G, because
I don't either.
I figured this bitch out when I was directed to a video of hers back in 2017, and I didn't want to hear that voice. Now it's like, the best way I can describe it, you try to get out and somehow you get yanked back in.
Mm-hmm.
Somehow you get yanked back in. And this, fellas, do not listen to Cynthia G's voice, or this warning will be, listen, this warning will be stapled to your head. Not imprinted, but fucking stapled, okay?
But I told people I was going to put this warning out. I'm like, man, I got to put a warning out if I play Cynthia G on my channel.
Man,
not just for my viewers, for myself.
For myself too, because you know Charles cut her to shreds several hundred times, and now I've cut her to shreds and you've cut her to shreds. But that I lived on radio sports. Don't give this bitch a radio sports job, please. Just don't. I mean, she created, I'll give her this set of kudos where she created an actual job where she gets to speak, but who wants to listen? Can I get a witness? Can I get a witness here?
only Magos and whatever chicks follow her, I guess. I don't know.
And why they follow her, I don't know. I really don't. Yeah. I'm working on something huge where I can get the family the fuck out of Indiana for good. And I'm praying this spring it'll happen.
Mm-hmm. Oh, did you hear about Circle City?
No football. Yep. I'm pissed.
Yeah, no football.
Because I was gonna make my way to, well, you know what my plan was. I was gonna make my way there and call the game on my network. And now there's no football game scheduled. Ain't that a bitch?
Yeah, yeah. But let's be honest, they should have did this years ago. But they of all years they picked this year to do it.
Yeah. Well, they weren't getting the attendance figures, for one.
Yeah,
they were not getting between the RCA Dome and Lucas Oil Stadium, that should have been selling out every year.
Yeah. Truth is, I have not been to Circle City games since the RCA Dome was up. And
I've called 3 of them in Lucas Oil.
Okay.
I've called 3 of them in Lucas. That's the only way I'll go. That's the only way I'll go to big events.
Yeah, I've never been to Lucas Oil. I've been to RCA Dome plenty of times, but I've never been to Lucas Oil. For some odd reason.
I mean, I've done 3 in Lucas. I've done 3 in Lucas Oil. Hang on a second. 7/21/72. I mean, I've done 3 of them in Lucas Oil, and that's the only way I'll attend big events is with a press pass strapped to me. I'm not gonna shell out hundreds and hundreds of dollars. And it was like, for what? What's the point?
Yeah, I remember when we had the Super Bowl here. I forget what year it was.
2012.
2012, and them tickets were like absurd. I think the nosebleed seat was like it was something absurd, like $800 or something.
Okay. Pharmacist just wanted to make sure.
I mean, like I told you, and I've said it on my show. The only way I go to a big football game is with a press pass strapped to me.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. Hundreds of dollars. That's a waste. Honestly, that's a waste.
Yeah.
Can I put it in order for my Lovenox refill, please? I'm taking care of a little.
You there?
Yeah, I'm here. Just taking care of a little medicine business right now, making sure I get all my meds. That's all.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's what you're hearing. That's what you're hearing. They're taking care of me now. But yeah. But still. Okay.
So if we order it tonight, I sent tomorrow.
All right. Thank you. But yeah, man, since I've been a sports announcer for some 20 years,
mm-hmm.
It's not worth buying a ticket. Fuck that. I want a press pass. And if you can't give me a press pass, I'm not going to be there. Period. I told my wife this. I told my children this.
Mm-hmm.
And I told you this.
Yeah.
Hell, Charles wants me to be the voice of the Ravens. I'm like, I wish. I wish.
Yeah.
And you know what really?
Speaking of,
what really pisses people? You know what really pisses people off?
What is it?
When people tell me I can't get big guests on my show. You know who one of my frequent guests is? Matt Taylor, the voice of the Colts.
Oops.
Tim Roy, the voice of the world champion Golden State Warriors. I've had him on.
Uh-oh.
Oops. And one of my best friends in the NBA.
Quite frankly, you're good enough. You're way more entertaining than ESPN.
I appreciate that. Thank you. I want my network to blow ESPN away. That's my goal. I want my network and my show to blow every other big time show away. I want it blown to smithereens because I really feel now, and it's taken me 8.5 years of doing my show. As you know, we just launched season 9.
Mm-hmm.
It's taken that for me to realize, hey, I am good at this shit.
Yeah.
And I got the perfect partner in Cole Johnson, you and the rest of the crew that check in every day. But you know what they're going to say? You know what they're going to say to folks like you and me and Charles? You're not doing any great content. Fuck you.
Like I see some of these people try to do it without all their fancy producers.
And here Cole and I are pushing our own buttons.
Yep.
Cole and I are pushing our own buttons. I want to invite the folks that are tuned in. If you haven't subscribed to AB's channel or mine, please do so right now.
Mm-hmm. You put your channel. You got a wrench. You put channel in chat.
Okay. Well, let me put it in the back chat here because I'm on my phone. I'm not in my office right now.
Oh, okay.
I'll put it in the back chat. That's the only thing I don't like is if I hop off of here, I'll lose the connection whenever I'm on panel. So I'll do it this way, and I'll put it in the back. I'll put it in the back chat. But I'll pose a question that relates to the clip that you played tonight.
Mm-hmm.
How come folks like Umar and Cynthia can get all the support that they need, and yet folks like you and me that actually bust our asses to get content out there, quality content, and nothing happens?
Mm.
Can I get a witness on that?
Yeah.
Can I get a witness on that? Who I haven't had any stars on my program. You know who I had a year ago? Former Super Bowl champion Lee Woodall, played with the 49ers.
Oh, it is.
So people want to say that to me, that I can't get stars on my program. Okay, watch this.
Mm-hmm.
I just reached back out to the press folks with Lee Woodall so I can get him back on. Gary Reasons from the Giants. By next year, I'll be interviewing current players and coaches. If not this year.
Nice.
Because I'm waiting until January to relaunch my sports network website, because I want to reach out to some people and see if I can get on their mailing list first of all, and go from there. I got plans of coming to Indy with a press pass, mind you, for me and my wife to cover the Big Ten championship. If I don't do it this year, I sure as hell will do it next year. But again, I go back to the question that I posed just a moment ago. How come folks like you and me that bust our asses to put good YouTube content out there and tell the fucking truth about what we see, and we get nothing? I mean, hell, you do computer programming.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I need to get back to that.
You do website stuff. And no one thinks to follow that and ask questions about that. Something that's been in our world and our lexicon since the 90s. Mm-hmm. What's wrong with these people? What's wrong with these people?
Especially with coming up, all this automation coming up, you don't want to know. You don't want to learn programming. Okay,
man.
Machine learning. We'll learn how the computer works.
Shoot, I want to learn. I'm going to set up a class where I'm teaching people how to do play-by-play, and I'll be damned if I don't do that come January.
And I'll tell you something. A lot of people don't understand about the computer. Whenever I hear the term smartphone, I literally bust out laughing.
Same.
Because if you know what's going on behind the scenes, you know the computer is dumb as fuck. You have to tell it to do everything. Yep.
The
only reason your phone is smart is because we program it to be that way.
Yep.
It has nothing to do with the phone. Only thing
no one got it.
And the only thing that phone is reading is binary numbers.
That's it.
Ones and zeros.
Man, I've known about binary numbers since freshman year in high school. And that's all the computer reads.
And there's really not much difference between writing for the desktop and writing for the mobile. Only difference, real difference is your size and everything and the chipset.
Yep. That's it.
Same logic.
Same logic. Yeah, logic. LOGIC, something that escapes some people in our community. Can I get a witness?
Well.
I mean, when my wife gave me the suggestion that I set up a class to teach people how to do play-by-play, I'm like, I can do that. And I'm finally gonna follow through and do that. I just got to make sure I'm healthy enough to do it.
You should set up a class and sell it on Udemy or something. I forget the name of that site.
Yeah. And I've had people look at my wife when she rides shotgun with me when we do football or whatever. I've had people look at my wife and like, what is she gonna do? She kind of is my executive producer on site.
Yeah.
She kind of reminds me to drink my water when I go to a break. And without her being a football nerd or a sports nerd like I, she knows when my breaks are. Because unlike some of the black women I've dated since I've been an announcer, she actually fucking listens.
See, pay attention, folks. This is what the Bible calls a help meet.
Yes.
This is the textbook example of a help meet. That's why Snowman loves his wife so much. It has nothing to do with race.
Not a fucking thing. I love Jody for who she is, period. And I've always, from day one, when I met her in 2018, I've always loved Jody for who she is. I've always loved Jody for who she is. I mean, hell, I called her when I was up in Chesterton doing a game, and the first time I ever called her, and I heard her giggle, I was a goner, and I knew I was a goner. I knew it. And it wasn't one of those, I got to have that, man. I got to have that. And most black men today will think about that in terms of looks. Me, I heard Jody's giggles and like, I got to have that in my life.
Yeah.
Period. I got to have that in my life once and for all.
Man, I'm getting to the age. It ain't all about looks anymore. It's like,
it really isn't. It really isn't. And that's what people don't get, man. Hell, Jody told me several times, wherever you go, I'll go. Let me repeat that. For everybody in the cheap seats, and this will bring it back a ways. For everybody in the cheap seats at Market Square Arena.
Oh Lord. Market Square Arena been gone for over 20 years.
Yeah, man. I never got a chance to do a game in there. I have seen Bankers Life Fieldhouse or whatever the hell they call it now.
Yeah, they call it something else
Game
now.
Bridge.
I think
it's Game Bridge Fieldhouse.
I guess it was Conseco Fieldhouse originally.
Yep, it was Conseco Fieldhouse. Then it became Bankers Life Fieldhouse. I've done two state championships at Bankers Life, so I got that. For all of us, for all of y'all in the cheap seats at the old Market Square Arena, it goes like this. Jody has told me several times and reiterates to me on a daily basis, wherever you go, that's where I go.
Yeah.
Let that sink in. Because to ask a true question of this so-called community, how many black women tell their men that?
You ain't doing enough.
And you wonder why I just cleared my throat.
Mm-hmm.
How many black women tell black men that? It's something I touched on last night, and I plan to touch on it again. I plan to touch on it again. I mean, the legendary Jim Valvano.
And to be honest, I can think of maybe one or two couples. And
Same.
I told that brother, don't let her go. Don't do it. I was like, ooh. When she walked in the room, she was something special. Then this was in church, and this is the pastor's son. And she walked in the room. I was like, who is that? And usually, I'm focused on service, but I turned my head. I was like, dang, who is that? And he said that was his girlfriend. Like, oh. Then I listened to her. I was like, I looked at this son. I was like, man, don't you let her go. Like, don't let that. Ooh, man, don't let that one go.
It's like with me and Jody. I'm not letting Jody go. I'm not letting Jody go. And you know, one of the best things about Jody, she looked at me one day when we were living in North Carolina. She says, look, we have to get back in the gym. Not me, not her, we.
Yes.
And she told me when we get settled, we're gonna find a gym, we're gonna get in there, we're gonna get our asses in better shape, and we're gonna piss some people off and show off. That's all I need, baby.
Hey.
Shit, look, I love Jody for who she is. Physically, emotionally, spiritually.
Mm-hmm.
When she laid down that gauntlet, oh, it was on like a pound of neck bones.
I bet.
It's on, man. When we get settled, wherever we go, be it North Carolina, be it New Mexico, be it Arizona or Nevada, when we get settled, man, I'm putting all kinds of pictures up. I'm really gonna show the fuck off.
Yeah, who's playing Thursday in the NFL?
Chargers and Chiefs.
Chargers and Chiefs, okay.
And it's not the Los Angeles Chargers, it's the fucking San Diego Chargers, as far as I'm concerned.
Oh, well. Is that how you feel about the Raiders, Oakland Raiders, instead of the LA?
As I've said before, can I get a witness? Because SoFi Stadium was supposed to house the Raiders and the Rams. The Chargers wasn't supposed to have anything to do with it. But I will discuss that
I
at a
forgot
later
about that.
date.
There's 3 teams there now?
The Raiders are in Las Vegas.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
The Raiders are in Las Vegas. But I will discuss that at a later date on a snowman's take. And yes, I'm dropping a very broad hint here. Before I get out of here so I can get home and finish what I need to finish, I want to leave you with this.
Mm-hmm.
Folks, when you find that special one, hold on to him. Hold on to him or her. Hold on to him or her. And don't let the bullshit that you see on YouTube come in between you.
Facts.
Because Dr. Umar and Cynthia G and anybody that comes on Fox Soul, and while I'm throwing people under the semi, fuck a goddamn bus, Paris Milan.
Ooh, I call it the airhead.
Does air really get in that head?
Yeah, that's a good question because I knew she before she went on that divestiture crap. I was like, yeah, you ain't hitting on shit. It's like yeah, you ain't too bright. I changed the channel on her a long time ago.
Listen, I've only listened to exactly 180 seconds of Paris Milan's content, and I discovered it by accident last year while I was driving from Henderson to Lewisburg, North Carolina for a baseball game. That 20-minute drive, 180 seconds of that I'll never get back.
Oh, wow.
Because of a record. Like I said, 180 seconds of that I'll never get back.
By the way, I have to point this out. Both Cynthia G and Paris Milan brought to you by Boyce Watkins.
Repeat that again.
Both Cynthia G and Paris Milan brought to you by Moist Watkins.
Paging Dr. Moist Twatkins. Paging Dr. Moist Twatkins.
Who just married
and that's not an original from Moist Watkins is not an original from me.
Yeah. Did he marry his college sweetheart or whatever that dumped him? Or high school sweetheart? I don't know. I don't care.
Wait a minute.
I wish I have
that dumped him?
Yeah. They reconnected and they remarried after he had kids and stuff. I'm like, I wish a heifer would come from my high school, my college, talking about how they want to get remarried. No, for what? You didn't want me then.
See, let me borrow from Keisha Z, who I've been getting into on YouTube. That's when you run away.
Even the dimes that protect me, I still wouldn't take them. No.
That's when you sprint away fast, not slow. All right, that's when you get the fuck out of Dodge and don't look back.
Yeah, that's when you go beep beep.
That's when you turn. That's when you turn into the road runner and sprint out. That's when you go to the trips. That's when you go to the 3 wide receiver set and find the fastest motherfucker on the field and get it to him. That's when you find the. That's when you find that's when, if you're Jim Kelly, that's when you look for one receiver and one receiver only. And his name is Andre Reed.
Oh, that's now let's go back out far. This is when you're Peyton Manning, you're looking for Marvin Harrison down the field.
When you're Joe Montana, you're looking for who? Jerry Rice.
Yeah.
Like you said, when you're Peyton, you're looking for 88. Marvin Harrison.
Or Hilton.
Or T.Y. Or T.Y. Or Reggie Wayne.
Yep.
That's when you.
Uh-oh. Cut out.
Now, I'm not.
Yeah, you cut out for a little bit. Uh-oh.
I'm not this shit. I appreciate you letting me come up.
All right, all right, catch you later. All right, folks. This is all I got for today. Hope y'all enjoyed the content. This is AB Media 83, and if I can find it, here we go. I'm out. Peace. Y'all have a good day. Yo, this is AB Media 83. Want to support the channel? Hit the Cash App. Also, be sure to like, share, and subscribe to the video. Also, be sure to hit that bell notification so you can be notified the next time I upload a live stream or video. And always remember, keep it grinding, keep it pushing, keep it moving. This is AB Media 83, and I'm out. Peace.